Sammy told me, hey, you want to take some plastic forks? It doesn't hurt at all. So he came in there. He was like, hey guys, y'all have X amount of doors.
Yeah.
And then, and then he was like, hey, we got this styrofoam and we're going to put, he was like, if you want to, you can make a fork board. I'll take the fork board. But Sammy was like, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Sammy was like, it doesn't hurt, yada yada. He was like, yeah, I've taken it multiple times, it doesn't hurt. Which, if you know Sammy Callahan, everybody should know Sammy Callahan. He's insane.
Yeah.
His insane level is up like all the way through the roof. When it comes to hardcores. So I was like, you know what? Since Sammy says it doesn't hurt, Sky, I'll take it. Just because you got a bodysuit on, nobody's going to be like, you know, it's going to be crazy, but it's not going to be like they could see the forks in my back or something like that.
Oh.
So I was like, I'll take it. And I took a gut wrench powerbomb onto the fork boards.
I'm in danger.
I still have scars on my back from it.
Oh my God.
But like, in the moment, the crowd was like, oh, that was so cool. I was like, no, it wasn't. So, there you go.
Demo Diamond is in the program. We are off to a flying start with these technical difficulties. How are you?
I am great. I'm doing amazing. Technical difficulties won't hold us back. It's okay.
We'll wait till that bridge gets crossed.
Yeah,
so probably because the first time I saw you, because the name kind of popped at me. Of course, every wrestler will have a poppy name. Like, where did that come from?
So actually, it's a funny story. Corey O'Neal is what his name was, but he's Corey Steed now. And like, so he was there for my DFW tryout, and like me and him got really close. And he couldn't pronounce my name because my shoot name is super close to Demo.
Gotcha.
So like, that's the beginning of my shoot name. And like, he couldn't pronounce my name for nothing. He was like, oh, you know, I'm tired of butchering your name during these drills. He's like, you know what, I'm going to call you Demo. So that was like my first like nickname that I got in wrestling. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick with it. And then it was time for us to kind of talk gimmicks at DFW and everything. And I was a big fan of Scott Hall and the Diamond Studded Kid.
Okay, I see where you're okay.
So I got Diamond from that, and also a big DDP fan. So those kind of went together, and the name just, yeah. At the time, I was the hidden gem. Now I'm the shining truth. So.
What was like the moment that DDP was suddenly part of your name?
So, DDP kind of happened because like, when I had appendicitis. I went through surgery.
Okay.
Real bad. Like I was a day away from death. I talk about it like every time it comes up. But like, I had started doing DDP yoga after that. And like, also I used to love the Diamond Cutter. So I was like, oh, you know, cause obviously Randy Orton's also one of my favorites. So it's like, you know, but like, so I went back and started watching WCW and stuff like that when I got into wrestling, because I didn't really watch anything outside of WWE at first. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic happened, and then I started watching a lot of New Japan and stuff like that, and kind of dabbling in wrestling outside of that. And then I went back once I started training to watch the classics, because I think Killer Cash said it when he was on the podcast with you. A lot of people don't know the history of wrestling, so I went to kind of watch back some of the big matches and stuff like that, and DDP stood out to me. So did Scott Hall. It's one of my goats right there. That's one of my goats.
How much of that history have you really taken to heart? Well, we'll do training first, because of course, to learn history of wrestling is to understand what the big picture of what the business is. When you were training, how much of that history has really stuck to you when you were training?
A lot of it. I mean, so the paying dues part stuck with me a lot, because like a lot of people, you know, they're like, oh, well, it's free labor kind of deal. Yeah. I take it to heart, because it's like, I mean, I am still only 3 years in, you know what I'm saying? So it's a big part. Like if I'm there early enough, if I'm not driving out far or something like that, I try and help set up with anything and everything, just because I know it's a part of where we come from. Like a lot of the greats did it. Like people still do it in NXT. They go set up for the big shows, and then they still go wrestle. So it's like that's been the one biggest thing. I think it's also that I'm working for the crowd, not me. So,
right. And good.
Yeah, that's a big one because man, sometimes I'm like, man, I want to put on this like 5-star classic, and I got to realize what crowd I'm in. And I'm like, I can't. And they won't understand. They won't understand.
A venue of 10 people, you're like, no.
Let's chill out on that.
Because like I was thinking that with history though, as you're really learning the ropes of being a professional wrestler, like were there any matches that kind of inspired you to a match that you're working someone with?
Actually, yes. Me and Delin, my
Havens.
longtime friend. Don't do that. My longtime friend and enemy. No, that's man. That's a guy. But like, I took a lot from the Batista Rey Mysterio rivalry. And also like, I know that's not like long history, like a long time ago,
recent.
But it's recent enough to where it was a lot of, Batista kind of, you're supposed to be my friend. It's your fault we lost. And that's kind of what happened when we lost the tag team title opportunity. I was like, you know what? I got to snap. So like, it was a lot of that though. It was, once they kind of gave me that, hey, look, we love you guys, but we gotta, but like, I took a lot of influence from that because, he's literally Baby Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
But he's like a clash of every like high flyer that could possibly be a high flyer. So, but I took a lot from that because Batista also showcased Rey Mysterio very well and his resiliency and willingness to come back and stuff like that. So I took a lot from that. I think what match? Me and Kari actually. We had a couple matches, but I took like the process and how we were getting there was a bit of like Triple H and Shawn Michaels, just because me and Kari have been close. We've been in factions together, tag teams, and it's like we know each other very well. So it's like I had to we had to surprise each other with different things, and it's kind of those things. I'm trying to see if I had something like older, like history.
I mean, it's not necessarily like recent, but like to have those moments. I was going to ask this, to have those moments, and you get to, let's say, imitate. Imitate would be a better word for that. To imitate and to find those moments when you were doing those matches with the context of the matches that you've watched. That must have been crazy doing it.
It's a crazy experience. Like, it's a crazy, like, hey, I've watched this match and I want to kind of use that outline. Like, it's crazy once it comes to life, because then you're like, man, I really did something from my childhood that I got to watch, And that's a big moment. I had a triple threat that I used. Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, and somebody else. I'm blanking. It was a WrestleMania. But like, I took that blueprint for a triple threat, and I was like, bro, and it like, and everybody hit the marks, and I was like, oh my god, like this is chef's kiss. So like that stuff to me, it's a perfect moment. Like, wrestling's so cool.
Oh yeah, no, because all right, so like this podcast is based in Austin, and Texas is a huge state. Of course, there's Houston, there's San Antonio. There's Corpus, there's El Paso. We'll throw in McAllen. It's a big state. But being based out of Dallas, like I guess I'm the initiate of this question. And what makes Dallas such a unique city for people to watch wrestling with? Because of course people will travel to get to there. What makes Dallas such a unique city?
I think it's the limited shows, and I don't mean that in like a bad way, but I think it's the reason I say that is because like a lot of us kind of work here, there, and everywhere, and like it's being able to see just a lot of guys that you don't usually get to see in Austin, and like I think all of us have a Texas strong style. Everybody has that, but I think Dallas has its own thing with a mix of different things. It depends on where you go. Like for MPX, it's a lot of showmanship. It's like it's like an old school, like the Raw and SmackDowns because it's a weekly show, but it's like you have these characters you can kind of latch onto. You have these storylines. You have all these things. And like at DFW, it's more like, it's that hard hitting style of Texas blended in with that little character development here and there.
Yeah.
It's just such a unique blend. And then you got Matwar and they're more recent, I think 4 years, but like they're more sports oriented. So like it's all the different styles of wrestling and like just 3 promotions essentially. And you get to see all of that like unfold. And it's like, it's really crazy because you can go from watching a sports oriented, like almost, for example, me and Dimitri worked at Matwar and we did a 7-minute, just all Japan class. Right.
Ooh.
And that got over with the Matwar crowd. But if I went over to the MPX crowd, it wouldn't get over as much because I'm not talking as much. Like we went straight like 7 and it was everything we were doing, they were reacting to. But in MPX, it's like, hey, you gotta, they're more character oriented. So a lot of guys come out there and they're like, oh, well, I did this in so-and-so and I can get away with it there. And then the MPX crowd's like,
it's like, sure.
Entertaining me. So like, but like, and then DFW is a mix of that. It's like you got to have a little bit of both for them to react. So I think it's just the uniqueness of all the companies, if that makes sense.
Because I was going to ask you, when you meant sports oriented, does that mean is it more physical? Like the way I saw it, it's almost like Inspire. Is it kind of like that?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So it's its own dynamic. Like Matwar, it's hard to explain. It's really its own thing. So like it's more of a blend of like the old school, like it's like an NWA inspired Clash.
That makes sense.
With like little UFC thrown in there, and there's still that like old town Texas vibe in there too. So it's like it's its own thing, and it's really like. The crowd there is always amazing. Like that's one of my favorite places to work. I will say that. Like actually, one of my favorite places to work.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Because like to have these types of promotions, and then you're starting to go out and show your worth as a wrestler working out of Dallas. Do you remember your booking outside of the DFW Metroplex?
My first one was the Tugboat Invitational, actually. I hopped in the car ride with Morgan, and they were down a person, and they were like, hey, well, do you want to wrestle? And I was like, oh, well, that's great. I had my gear and everything. I was like,
you were ready.
Cool. I was ready. Forgot. I used to wear the mask. It was like Blue Lightning or something. I'm so sorry. Jay Pierce. There we go.
Okay.
Jay Pierce. So I wrestled him for my very first time. I think it was like 5 minutes. And like we went a little rocky, it was the first time. I think it was literally on first month, like the first week I graduated.
Wow.
So I was already there. And then actually I had a double booking that weekend because I went to DreamCon and I wrestled Eddie Martinez. So
interesting.
So I had it was my first double booking and my first like week out. It was crazy.
Where is that Tugboat Invitational? Where is that?
It was at the Houston Premier Arena.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I had to take a second for that. And to go on that environment where Houston Premier Arena is its own animal. What was it like going outside of that? And what did you learn from that match alone being at the Tugboat Invitational?
For one, I love working the crowd in the Houston Premier Arena because they're all like the crowd in Houston is really great. I think from the limited time I've been down there, they're great. But what I learned was I actually learned my match pacing because I talked. Bulldog came, pulled me to the side, and he was like, "Hey, you have like 5 minutes. You're supposed to showcase each other. Blah blah blah, like things like that." And it was just like I didn't think about it. I was just like, "Oh, match structure," and it was. I wasn't playing for a 5-minute match structure, so it was just that. I also learned that like again, crowds are very different. One thing that I might do somewhere else might not get over in Houston, or if I do it down here in San Antonio, it might not get over in the Dallas area. So just crowds are their own animals.
That would not because I've been through all these shows. It's a different vibe from, like, for example, in Houston, I'm at Reality, straight up WWE, Inspire.
Absolutely,
it's a PWG. United 210, it's wrestling that happens to be in the backyard. So each of those crowds are different.
Yes.
Because it's kind of interesting how that works. And like, how often did you have to adapt with the crowds in those cities?
So it's funny you said that, because I've worked Row and I've worked the Houston Premier Arena, gotten to do the yards, and you're right, all those crowds are different. But like, how I've navigated it is I realized I had a really big personality.
Okay.
So I like to talk a lot, and if I find one person, like, for example, there was this lady in Houston, in Louisiana, when I was down there for BIW, and she was talking so much trash. She's like, yeah, Ray Fury's going to whoop your... So I'm like, okay, all right, lady, I just got here, but you want to start with me. So I picked on her the whole time.
No.
And, since she said that, she was my target all night. And the crowd started reacting because once you gang up and once you target one person, now everybody wants to be a part of it. And now the wrestling's the entertainment as well. They're like, oh, okay. Now when I'm getting beat up, they're like, yeah, I told you gonna get whooped. And then when I'm beating them up, they're like, all right, you know what? You might be different. So that's kind of what I've done. I think that's why a lot of people book me as well. Is just, one, I can throw strikes like crazy.
Oh yeah.
But two, I'm very either likable or very hateable.
One of the two, either or.
Yeah, I don't mind. I like both, but it's fun, It's just, I think, but that's what wrestling was to me. Obviously, growing up watching WWE was, character and wrestling, depending on who was in the ring and everything. And I realized that, like, having a good blend of both will make you usable for anybody. And that's kind of what I do. So I'm like, all right. Plus, I like talking. So.
Yeah, I know that we're doing that right now.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about one match in particular. And thanks for sending those, because I had to watch all of them. And the one that stood out to me, it happens. But one match is that triple threat match for the, let me correct this, the MPX championship between you, Kari, and X.
Yes.
And being that you guys are, the way I saw it, it's almost you guys are equals. It's just one has a different flavor over the other. Run us through that match, and that ending kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, "What the heck?" I was literally looking at my phone. Oh, it's done. Like, how often does that work with someone on a triple threat match? Because it's two more people too.
Yeah. Triple threats are hard. It's hard to put together because it's factoring that other person in. But like with me, Kari, and Exodus, it was essentially easy. We all know each other. We've all wrestled each other like 1,000 times because we're all in the same area. So like we took a lot of the stuff that we would do in a singles match, and we kind of just like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this, and it's just kind of having to factor in like, all right, well, I know Exodus will kind of cut me off with this, and it's. Though those type of matches are great to have when you have like a lot of people that you work with, and then like it's also nice when you kind of get to spice it up and don't know the person. But like a lot of the spots where, all right, well, I've taken this bump before with you, and I know I could trust you, so that's why we did like some crazy stuff a little bit, But like it was more of. All of us were on the same page. We all knew what we were getting to, and we all knew the bigger picture. So we just kind of threw everything in there because it's Destiny. It's a big show for MPX. It's like our WrestleMania. So it was, Kari coming into that. He's the white hot babyface. Me coming into it. I had screwed Exodus out of the Rumble. I had the prospect title, so I was basically Money in the Bank and Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah.
At the same time, Exodus had fought himself back to the title picture, and it was like, we had all these different layers, and having to factor all that in, it was kind of reminiscent of like WrestleMania 31 with Seth Rollins and cashing in Heist of the Century.
I was like, I knew there was a Seth Rollins moment. I knew it.
but like But that's what it would have happened if it was an actual match, though. It was like, if I lose this, I still can cash in.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a nice blend of styles. I think that's one of my favorite matches of anything that I've done this year at all. Like, honestly, it's that one, and then like, I don't know.
Which I'm gonna ask, out of the entire, I think you had like 5 matches that you sent over, 5 or 6. Besides the triple threat, what is your match that you like to work? Whether you got over or not, what makes it such a special match for you?
I think it's the second time me and Dylan worked at DFW All Pro, and the reason being is the first time it was at MPX. We did our thing. I turned heel. We had our blow off match, but like. We were at home. I had been antagonizing the whole time. I cut a promo in front of a hospital telling him I was going to put him in the hospital.
What? Wait, hold on. Explain. Explain. What does that mean?
I cut a promo sitting, I think, so my mom's okay, but I had to take her to the emergency room. And then, like, I had to sit out there. So I was like, man, I got to turn a promo. So I was like, all right, you know what? You know, this is great. So I sat in front of the emergency son. I sat down. I cut a promo telling Dylan that his mom would have to pick him up from the hospital.
That's awesome.
Yes, his mom used to love me. I had his whole family in my comments talking about they were going to hurt me. So,
that's so, wow. That's like red hot heat right there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
His mom was under my comments every time I posted something. And then after that, we had our match, and I came out with the I Heart Mama Caven sign. And that she did not like that. But it was great.
The match itself, though, it still carried over.
Absolutely. But I think that's one of my favorite ones just because everything that we did. One, like I said, the promo was the best thing to me because I got to cut a promo in front of the hospital. Not a lot of people do that. But also
cross that off the list.
Yeah, exactly. But I took a moment and I was like, all right, cool, you know, and I made my former best friend's mom hate me.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I used to be one of her favorite wrestlers, man.
That's a shoot. Yeah. Shoot.
She was not happy. She was not a happy
God
at all. But yeah, and then like the match itself, we did a lot of like remembering each other's spots and kind of countering each other. We did a lot of cool stuff. And there was a moment where I think at the end of the match, we kind of got scrappy. Okay. And then, we flipped each other off. And after that, I popped him up and gave me a flatliner. And 1, 2, 3, I lost the match. But the moment for me itself, the crowd's reaction and the story behind all of it was
the build up, like from what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Behind the scenes and doing their promos really added the flavor to the match, because that's the thing. You have to have the build up for the match to actually culminate into what it is that night.
Yeah, that's what I try and do. I mean, I've been had a lot of blow off matches lately, so when I actually get to have the meaningful matches, I try and make them meaningful. Like I try to make them meaningful for me and for the people, and for whoever I'm working with. Just because, I mean, we're all in wrestling, we're all giving our body, so might as well do something and have a purpose for it and be happy with it.
Yeah. So we'll cut to a few months. We're at the Yard in San Antonio, and this is like Borracho's season finale with the cookout. And was that your first time at the Yard?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Man, that was a drive, but
4 hours. 4 hours.
Plus stops, so about like 5, but no.
All right, fine.
But I used to drive that all the time as a kid because my family's from San Antonio.
Oh,
and all my people live in San Antonio. A lot of my family don't get to travel to Fort Worth. And they're like, hey, we want to come see you wrestle and stuff like that. So it was actually nice getting to work where my family's from. It was really dope.
What was it like at the Yard for the first time? And have you ever heard of the Yard even before you set foot in Stud Stash's place?
Yes. So I've heard of it, and I actually seen it. Like, I hadn't gone, but like I used to watch, because like Eddie and him would come down, and they would go. Like a lot of Dallas guys would go. And I was like, it's a San Antonio drive. Can't really do that. Plus, I was in high school at the time, so I was like, I don't know if I want to travel that much. So I was staying local. But like, it was like watching it was crazy. I was like, man, this cannot be somebody's backyard. It is insane.
It is someone's backyard.
And then Gabe Sapolsky made the post, and I was like, man, this is really crazy. Like, and I like me and Stud Stash talked a little bit. Like, Stud Stash are cool. That's my guy right there. But like,
you
we
had
talked
conversations
a little bit
with him. You had conversations,
yeah, that's my guy. But like, we talked, and Brad really made it happen. He was like, hey, I really want to bring. I had the match with T-Ray when I first debuted for Borracho, and they were like, hey, I want to bring you back. We're doing this thing for the cookout, and I was like, bro, I'm down. I've been wanting to work United anyways. I've been wanting to come down there.
Yeah,
it's great. It's fine by me. And the atmosphere of the Yard is different, man. It's just, I love it. Like, it's a whole, like I said, a lot of places have their own vibe, and that's literally, the Yard is its own vibe. It stands alone. Like, there's nothing like the Yard.
It's such an interesting spot, because I went there the first time at United's, I think it was the finale. And I was like, I had that question. I can't believe this is someone's backyard and it's a wrestling show. It's like, how does that work? But Stud Stash made it happen. And I was like, and I went to the cookout, completely different day, different crowd, but the vibe is the same, which is kind of crazy doing it. And what's interesting though, with your match over at the cookout, it was Brick Savage.
Absolutely.
And Brick has been in so many venues and so many places all over the state. And what was it like to work someone with that much experience coming into that Borracho Pro title match at the cookout?
Man, working Brick is always a task. Brick is, monster of a human. I don't even know if they're human. Brick has somewhat of a respect for me. They do their own thing, but like, we don't care. But like their styles of matches are brutal. Like they think a lot about how they put stuff together and how things come together. And the fun thing is always trying to top what they can imagine. So like going out there and wrestling Brick for Borracho, which was my second match for Borracho and already for the title, which thanks, Brad. But yeah, no, it was an experience though. Working Brick is always an experience because we always do something different. But that time, it just felt different, obviously, because it's a different show, different setting where we've worked each other in the DFW area. So it's a different setting. And, there was people that didn't like me that know me from like different places. And there was people that were like, oh, this guy's cool.
It's that personality.
Getting this show that I can work anywhere and with anybody was dope, but also, it's Brick. So Brick is.
I was going to ask you,
Brick, man.
How different is Brick in Matwar compared to him in Borracho?
Man, Brick is a different beast in Matwar.
Okay.
Like, completely. Because a lot of things are like, they did a rat chain match, which is like 4 people chained up to a dog collar, essentially.
Oh my God, I got to see that.
Yes, and it's Dante Smiley, Dante Leone, Brick Savage, and I want to say it's Damo though, and it's an experience. And also they kind of come in there and they do their thing, they kill people, and then it's like, all right, well, let's go do our own thing. So, but I'm like, dude, it's not that serious. Like, calm down. I'm trying.
It's a wrestling show. Why is that?
Yeah. I'm trying, but Brick is Brick. Also, like I said, like Brick has somewhat of a respect for me. Anytime anybody asks who to check out or who to be like, hey, who should I start watching? They always say me, and they're always like, hey, you should go check out Demo Diamond.
Yeah, that's good.
Funny, like little subsection though. We did a match at MPX, and Brick gave me, I want to say, a German suplex or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And I told him, I was like, I'm probably going to land over the buckle. I can sit on the buckle, on the rope. They're like, no, you can't. So they threw me, expecting me to come down. And I was sitting on the rope. Like, I was sitting on the rope.
Uh-huh.
And then I landed on my neck. But it's fine. But, like, it was
he's aware.
Fact,
he's looking out for you. That's what it means.
Yeah, it was like the sheer fact of, like, where's bro at? I thought I threw him, man. I didn't come down. And they were like, what the fuck? So, sorry, excuse my language, but that's essentially what they said. It was Brick's reaction in the moment.
Yeah. Because you mentioned MPX and
yeah,
the MPX champion for 3 times. And I always ask this whenever there's a champion. So the first time when someone said a new, of course, elation is one thing, but to put you over as champion, how much of the hard work have you done led up to that moment?
Man, from what I'm told, and this is from Palmer and everybody back there, we did a thing called the shot collar, which was basically the fan got to ring a bell and have people interfere in your match, and it got to change the outcome. Sometimes it didn't. Well, I was very over as a heel. Like, I was, everybody at MPX hated me. Like, the crowd, I had people in my comments wishing that I would never wrestle again.
Oh my God.
Yes. So they paid hundreds of dollars to see me lose over and over again. And that was the moment they were like, hey, well, you're putting the work in, you know, something might come. And then I was like, all right, you know, it was my second year, and so I'm not thinking too much of it. I'm going with the motion.
Working.
I'm working.
Going.
I'm not worried about it. And then, got to work a match with Fuego. Won my first championship there, and they were like, all right, you know, we're gonna, I'm telling you, something bigger is gonna come. I'm like, you know, I'm not worried about it, you know? I'm going.
No rush. Just keep going.
Yeah. I'm trying to, because a lot of people like to, you know, after they win their first title or they get something big, they like to get an ego, and I'm one of those people that I just want to work. I want to show people that I can wrestle. I want to show people that I can do this. So when that happened, it was like, all right, cool. You know, I see they see a potential. And then it was, man, I don't remember. Then it was like I had a mini feud with Exodus, and they were like, hey, so you and Tommy Becker now, y'all gonna have a rivalry. And I was like, what? Okay. All right. That's great. So me and him for the MPX title at Destiny, which is always, it was at the Epic, which is our huge show. I think it's like 500 plus people there every time. And man, the build up to that and like everything, we had Jamie Aller turn heel, which is Jamie, as anybody who knows Tommy Becker is a big part of Tommy Becker. That's his like best friend. That was his manager forever. Jamie turned heel. The crowd was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. And then it was me with the title, and emotions were crazy. But like, to me, the build up and the work made it worth it, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you know, I don't have one of those crazy stories that like just, hey, here's a title match. But like, it was a lot of work, a lot of, hey, you know, just be patient. And I got to, you know, do everything on the side, and that's what made it worth it for me. That's what made the first one worth it for me. Like, it made it amazing.
How long was that run too? How long was that?
I want to say 6 months.
Okay, that's still
was it 6? I don't know, because I lost it in October, and it was about like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, I mean, that's still lengthy. I mean, it's still lengthy for a time. So of course titles changed. It's always been it's always been like the reality of champions. It gets handed over. But for you to have that the second time, I'll say this differently. How much of that trust from everybody at MPX ownership, and they're saying, we'll ride with you. You'll get this the second time. Let's roll with it.
So the crazy thing is I lost it at Revolver. So I lost it on our Revolver show. Okay. I walked into Wrestling Revolver because we always, you know, when they come to Texas, it's always a Revolver and MPX thing. Okay. And I walked into Revolver as MPX champion. Okay. Against Sky Della Promosa, which
that's big too. He's big too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody knows Sky? Sky is amazing. I take a lot of stuff from him. So if he says that I stole something from him, it's probably true. But like, we had a rivalry going on, and they were like, "Hey, well, you're gonna lose it at a revolver." And I was like, "All right, that's fine. I don't care." Like,
Okay.
it was a big moment because I got to walk in a revolver as champion. I was the first MPX champion to like actually defend the title on the show. So, and we did it in a little hardcore match. Sammy, I tell this story every time I talk about this match. Sammy told me, "Hey, you want to take some plastic forks? It doesn't hurt at all." Sammy lied. Sammy lied. Sammy lied. Sammy lied. Them forks sucked. So he came in there. He was like, "Hey guys, y'all have X amount of doors. We also have these gimmicks for y'all." And he was like, he tossed us staple guns, and I was like, "All right. I don't know what y'all think I am. I am a regular wrestler, okay? This is y'all's usual."
Yeah.
And then, and then he was like, "Hey, we got this styrofoam, and we're gonna put." He was like, "If you want to, you can make a fork board." And I was like, "Okay." And Sky was like, "I'll take the fork board." But Sammy was like, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Sammy was like, it doesn't hurt. Yada, yada. He was like, yeah, I've taken it multiple times. It doesn't hurt. Which, if you know Sammy Callahan, everybody should know Sammy Callahan. He's insane.
Yeah.
His insane level is up like all the way through the roof. When it comes to hardcore wrestling. So I was like, you know what? Since Sammy says it doesn't hurt, Sky, I'll take it. Just because you got a bodysuit on, nobody's going to be like, it's going to be crazy, but it's not going to be like they could see the forks in my back or something like that.
Oh.
So I was like, I'll take it. And I took a gut wrench powerbomb onto the fork boards.
I'm in danger.
I still have scars on my back from it.
Oh my God.
But like, in the moment, the crowd was like, "Oh, that was so cool." I was like, "No, it wasn't." So getting to lose it on the Revolver show was amazing, honestly, because the crowd reaction was like I hit my Sky high, which they were like, "Oh, Sky lost," because I always combo with a spear, and that's a done deal. And they were like, "Oh, well, Sky lost," and he kicked out. And they were like, "Wait. No." And then he caught me out of the spear with the death by stereo, and they were like, No, Jamie's gonna interfere or something. It was 1, 2, 3, and it was oh my God. So that was great. And then I won it the next weekend, so it's fine. But the way I got it was by cheating. It's okay. He didn't lose clean. I got it by cheating.
That's a heel right there. That is a heel.
Yeah. I had the Scorny boys come in there and help me, and we paid them off. They helped me out, and I got the win. So
no, because I was thinking about that too. Even though it's like just a week, like they still roll. MPX, the higher ups are still rolling with you for that week. Basically,
absolutely. I got me and Sky got a lot of praise for our match. Like Sammy loved it, Palmer loved it. It's one of those gimmick matches, so it's not like a lot of wrestling. Technically, it's just like how long can you keep the crowd invested? Yeah, it's how long can you keep the crowd invested, and they loved it. They at least from what they told me, they loved it. And like me and Sky have been fighting each other since I got into MPX, so it was cool to lose it to him, even if it was for just a week, because Sky deserves everything in the world. He's such a nice guy. And yeah. So I was not beat up about it at all. I was like, all right, cool.
And that's what it is. And I'm learning this, especially with a lot of the promotions. Like, it'll come back to you one way or another with a championship. And it's oftentimes it is listening to the ear of the crowd for someone does change titles. And we're going to move to your recent one. Is it Destiny? Is that the one?
Yeah, Destiny.
Okay, gotcha. So the third time, see that this is the first time I've had someone with 3 titles as a guest. So it's like high praise, first of all. But to have the third one, and you've been in this rodeo before, the third time, is it anticlimactic like the second one?
I know my job as a heel is to get this guy over as the babyface and the crowd to love him. And if they love him so much, they're like, oh, you know what? We gotta
hand it over.
Yeah, I did my job and so did he. So that was cool. And then, like I said, we got to build the story of me winning the prospect title from Brick, actually. Not cleanly at all. At all. Thanks to Big Luther, my guy. But I got the prospect title, won the Rumble by, getting eliminated, not eliminated if the refs don't see, and eliminating Exodus.
Quote unquote.
Hey, they gotta see my feet touch the ground, do they not? That's all I'm saying.
I saw that. I remember that. I saw that. I remember that.
Rules are stated. Hey, if the ref counts me out, I'm out. The ref didn't see. Not cheating at all. But even for that, the crowd reaction for me screwing Exodus was genuine hate. It was blasted all over the MPX page for a week or two. And it's just like, oh, Demo didn't win. And so that build to Destiny, it made it worth it even more. It made me, I was like, all right, they were like, hey, going back to it, cash in. I was like, all right, cool. They hated the fact that I was able to cash in.
Yeah.
You heard the crowd reaction. So it was like, even giving the crowd the fact to hate me because I'm cashing in something I already won and defended. So it's builds are everything to me. And if the build makes sense, if the build is there or the structure is there or something happens and they're like, hey, well, we got to go in this direction, that's fine by me. I am completely overjoyed to do whatever I got to do. But that was also a combination of Kari being my brother. That's my daughter's godfather. Exodus being somebody I looked up to get into wrestling business. Actually, Kari and Exodus are the reason that I'm in wrestling because I didn't even know about wrestling in Dallas until I seen those two.
Right.
It was all of those factors, so it made the third one worth, if that makes sense.
Because I kind of noticed, especially, and actually, you paint a better picture of how it means to know your worth and what's best for business. Yeah. How much of that really change over time for you? Because oftentimes, what's best for the business, it takes a long time for you to adapt to that. How long did you really say, okay, I'm going to roll with it. I know it's going to be for the betterment of whatever promotion that I'm doing. When did that finally start to click for you?
It clicked for me, I want to say kind of midway, actually my heel turn for Dylan, because me and Dylan, as close as we are, whatever you want to say.
Whatever.
Whatever. We were like, all right, so we're going to do this Dallas stint. We're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to go here. And they were like, look, it's going to get, we're going to go in a different direction here. Whatever y'all do out there is fine by us. But it was to me, I realized, okay, it might be what's best for both of us because Dylan is now over as Dylan and I'm now over as Demo Diamond. And now it's not, one can't exist without the other. Now, if we do a return, now it's bigger than if we were just to be like, all right, let's tag everywhere. Just because the big man, small man thing doesn't last very long.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that was where I realized I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Let's hear him out. And the pitch worked. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be a 3-time MPX champion. I wouldn't be going to Borracho because I didn't find myself until I left Dylan.
That's kind of nice because there's always a lot of collaboration in the wrestling business. Yeah. And I was going to ask this too before we delve into closing our conversation. How has the wrestling scene changed for you as someone who's watching WCW and WWE? How has that changed to you now that you're working these shows in Texas?
Saved a lot. I honestly, from how hands-on I am with trying to help and be like, hey, I can help here, I started to see that wrestling is very hard. Putting together wrestling shows are very hard.
Right.
And it's made me respect the bigger shows because they do this on a weekly basis, but they also have to travel. They have to have a crew. They have to have all these things. And if one thing doesn't work, then, the whole machine can go down for a little bit.
Right.
And it's just made me appreciate wrestling. A lot of people get in here and we're like, oh, well, obviously you want to be the best wrestler you can possibly be. If you want to make it to Japan, you want to make it Japan, you want to, but I don't think a lot of us take a step back and look at what the shows really have to provide. I mean, and that's kind of what I've been kind of trying to make my mindset is like, what can I provide to the show that isn't already here? Or what can I do to help this show move on or go upward? And if it's being the dastardly man that I am, then that's fine, but if they need me to do something else and they're like, hey, well, one company has me doing murdering everybody, actually. Did a battle royal and they were like, hey, there's like 8 guys in here, and everybody was like, hey, Demo, you want to come cook me? And I was like, all right, you know what? If you want to die, that's fine. But like, they were like, hey, we want you to, this is where we want you to be. And that's led, now they're like, hey, we want a bigger opportunity for you. But like, that to me is what wrestling is. There's a lot of collaboration, like you said. Yeah. And if I could be one of those pieces that's not super, I'm going to fight you on everything, but I'm also going to know what I'm worth and what I want to do. And if we can make a bargain, we can kind of talk about it in a respectful manner. Then that's what I want to provide. I want to provide whatever the product is for that show, if that makes sense.
Right. No, because I kind of sense that too, where like, what can you do to make the show better, even if it's just for a spot or two or an entire match, basically.
Exactly. Prime example of this is my first trip to McAllen, actually, for Combat Cult. I got to work Mooncat Franco, and he's not big. He's not big at all. He's very skinny. But Mooncat's an athlete. Like, Mooncat is a guy. Like, that's one of my favorite people to work with now. Right. But like, it was like, hey, we want you to come here. This is your first match. Kind of we want to showcase you. Here's a small guy, but I took it as I'm the outsider, so like, this is not my match, this is his match, right? And essentially it was a lot of the big guy small guy thing of me tossing him around during the match and being able to beat up on him. But once he was up, it was him. He got me an arm drag off the top rope into a coffin drop, and the crowd was like, holy shit. But like, this is awesome. No, for real. That's like, but to me, those moments mean way more if I'm coming down here. Yes, I'm the outsider. Yes, I get what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to be billed. And if this guy is, the white hot babyface, like I always say, then I'm going to give him his match, because he's giving me his body to do whatever. But like, I also want to be the same. I don't want to be one of those guys that's like, I don't want to take everything. No. So I'm very collaborative in what I give and take. And that's kind of where I like to be. I like to make everybody look good while looking good.
Yeah, exactly. And see? This year is kind of an interesting year, because now we're seeing a lot of wrestling took off when everything was
it's blown up.
Yeah. So for you, we talked about how you're working things with the guys in the locker room, but for you, what are your goals this year?
This year is to get back to AEW and doing another match, because I got to work EJ and I loved it.
Yeah, I saw that match. I remember this. Okay.
Yeah, I died, but it's fun. It's great. It's
big fun. Big stage. You're on the floor.
Big stage, but yeah, big stage. Took a massive spine buster. No, it's not. But it was a great experience. All of it was. But it's also just to get out more. I want to get out of the state of Texas more. I have been doing that, Louisiana and stuff like that. But it's also to get out and kind of spread my wings. And yeah, I think that's my goals for this year, is just to kind of make Demo Diamond a staple, not only in Texas, but everywhere. Because I feel like I'm very, not slept on. I feel like a lot of people don't know who I am. And getting to work a lot of the shows in Houston and Austin obviously will help that, because they have the keys to Texas right now with New Texas, Inspire, all that, and those are the shows that everybody wants to be on. So I'm looking to show everybody that Demo Down is also here.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing for me this year.
This was fun. I love this. I love it. Because here's why. It's a broken record with me as a host is I see you 5 minutes and I'm like, see you later. Because you're either working the show or it's after the match. But honestly, like, because I haven't had a guest in Dallas since Cavens, like last year. So, but to have like, at least like, and Cavens will have his moment on the podcast, but to have another perspective in the Dallas wrestling scene, that was pretty cool. And it's nice to see that this state, I mean, it's a big state. Everyone has different perspectives, journeys in their wrestling career. So I want to say thank you for having you on.
Thank you for having me, because I've watched this podcast multiple times. I'm like, man, I should probably hit him up. And then I was like, nah. And then I seen the Killer Cash one. I was like, I'm very. I don't like messaging people, and I'm like, you know what? I got to now. So, yeah.
I had you on the list. It's just I think when I was planning, I'm like, should I? All right, let's see what I can do. And I did. Here's my rubric with a lot of things because I have to see a show, and that match with Brick, that was like someday. That was back in November. One of these days, I'll get you on it. And you messaged me. I'm like, all right, let's run it.
I'll get on.
So I'll end our conversation with this. And if you were in the same room as an adolescent version of you, you're there face to face with him in the same room, what would you like to talk to him about?
I would like to talk to him about just life. I mean, obviously, like, I've gotten older, so I've gotten to see things in a different perspective. But I would probably tell myself that, I don't know. It's weird because the conversation I probably would have with myself is that, to essentially love everything you're doing, because things can be taken away from you in a split second. And I've seen it happen. And I've seen people kind of break limbs and not being able to wrestle and stuff like that. I've seen, I've seen everything, and I've also almost lost my life. So, I think it's one, to love every step of the journey, but also two, which is, the classic, and everybody's like, love every step. But also two, that, confidence is key. I mean, confidence is everything. Because if I wasn't confident enough to message you, then we wouldn't have this interview. Right now, at least.
Okay.
But, I carry myself now with a lot of confidence that I didn't have as a kid. So I probably tell myself to carry himself with a lot more confidence. Because, man, if I had this confidence now,
the sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit. I would be an architect right now. I was confident in geometry, and then people bullied me, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm not good at geometry.
And now you're wrestling.
Exactly. Now I'm doing a different dream. Exactly. I'm getting to punch people for money. Let's go. But no, I think that would be my conversation, is just telling myself about confidence. I think a lot of people don't like to, I don't like confidence that makes you egotistical, but I like confidence enough to know how good you are at something, and
your worth. That's what I was. Yeah,
because, man, as a kid, I didn't know my worth at all. I was letting people tell me what my worth was instead of being exactly what I'm worth. So,
this is great. I have nothing left to give.
Hopefully, I was like, hopefully that was a good answer.
No, I mean, that question, since the beginning, I've been doing it. There's never a right or wrong answer, and that's the thing. And spoilers, if there is guests who are here, there is never a right or wrong answer, because everyone's journey is different. Some take the road less traveled or the road that's paved in gold sometimes. And that's the hard part. But this question, and it's not to disparage, but to reflect on how you're doing in life. And you see that younger version of you, you're like, okay. And you have all this experience. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it would be pick yourself up, dog. You got it. I have energy now, that I didn't have, but this personality's always been there, and I was just like, people are gonna hate me for being me. So I was like,
I'm curious, who was your support circle too during that time?
Man, it was like my mom. Once I got into training, it was Delin. Once upon a time, that guy. But actually, Delin is the guy that got me like really confident, like working out and stuff. Like, used to go to the gym all the time together. It was now Palmer, actually. Palmer, Matthew Palmer, man. If I say this, and I say this in every interview, if it wasn't for Matthew Palmer, I wouldn't be Demo Diamond today. Because Palmer seen me my first match at MPX, and he was like, "That
You're
guy,
the guy.
I want him to train here." And I was like, "It's like, whatever." We talked a little bit, and then like a couple months went on, and then they were like, Palmer's like, "No, I need you to come here so I can help you." And like Palmer has skyrocketed me. I mean, obviously, he's the one that's bullying me to get my in the shape. If you see the shape that I was in, he's absolutely right. Because I was like this big, and now I'm 2 times the version that I was.
You're huge, dude.
So it's like he was the one like, "Hey, get in the gym, stay on your body." And I like recently, it was very recently that I took that advice. It was after I went to AEW actually, and I seen that everybody on the roster is massive. So I was like, maybe he knows what he's talking about. But it was also like he was like, "Hey, like," he was like, "You're very." It's like, "You have a confidence." Like anytime I would mess up on a promo or get down, he's like, "Man." It's like, just talk like you. You talk perfectly fine. He's like, "Why are you trying to be wrestler? Just talk like you." So it's like every time now that I'm in there and I'm talking trash, and it's just who I am. It's all because of Palmer. He kind of pulled that little kid out of me and was like, "Hey, dog, shape up." And I was like, "All right." So I give him all the credit for my boisterousness, my me being me. So if anybody should deserve the credit, it's Palmer. Didn't get a lot of it.
So I have nothing left to give. This is great. I don't mind giving it this long, but after hearing this conversation, I'm kind of thankful that other side, because not a lot of wrestlers really do share that, but to have that story being shared, and that's rare, but also to know your worth as a wrestler over those 3 or so years, it built up to where you are now today. Word's good, but I have nothing left to give.
English very hard.
You have the floor. Where can we find you?
Everything on every social media platform. I think I am the Truth Demo. Except YouTube, it's Demo Diamond. I think it's fine. Just search up my name. You'll probably see me punching somebody. And I recently just got a clip that went kind of viral, which is me punching Dante Flame. And people like, "Oh, his teeth fell out." No, it's necklace. It's fine. But
the illusion is getting ruined, Demo.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Listen. Nobody has to know. But now I would say, everything is the Truth Demo. You can follow me on Facebook at Demo Diamond. You can follow me on YouTube, subscribe, whatever. I upload matches inconsistently. It's fine. Upload matches is the Demo Diamond. Yeah.
There you go.
That's
awesome.
It for me.
This was great. So,
Thank you.
For those who are watching or listening here on YouTube, Spotify. Wow, we're off to a flying start. YouTube,
It's
Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we are on to the next one. Bye.
Alrighty.